Have you ever wondered if you can improve your eyesight without doing any techniques or exercises? There's more than one way that you can improve your eyesight. My wife actually cut her prescription in half without doing any of the things that I do. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can improve your eyesight without doing any techniques or exercises, what changes are needed, and how difficult it is. I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Marcy, and she's going to tell you about her eyesight improvement journey that she never even tried to be on. The first thing I want to talk about, which many people always want to know, is what did your prescription start at and what did it end at?
So I started at negative 3.75, and as of 2021, I was negative 1.75.
That's pretty impressive, and for those of you who aren't doing the math that quickly, that's a drop in 2 diopters, so a 2 diopter change in her eyesight without doing any eye exercises or techniques. So my next question is, what led you to wanting to improve your eyesight, or rather, what was happening in your life that you felt you need to make changes?
First off, I wasn't doing anything to improve my eyesight. You had already started your journey 2018, 2019.
Right.
Our oldest daughter joined our lives in 2019, and our lives were pretty balanced at that point. But change in life, becoming parents, becoming a mom, my life got off balance. So I took a few months in 2019 to reflect on my own self-care, meaning I refocused on eating habits. I refocused on physical activity. I refocused on my mental health. I refocused on regaining my balance as a person to better contribute to being a better wife, a better mom, a better employee, a better person. That's what I needed to focus on at that point.
You started to work on your own self-balance and improving a lot of things when it came to your nutrition, your physical activity, mindset. At what point did you notice that there was a change in your eyesight?
So I never noticed it myself personally. It was 2021. Things were reopening up from COVID. My contacts were way expired, well, which probably get into more of my contact care later on. But they were just way expired. So it was just time to go get that eye checkup finally after a couple of years. And that was when we noticed it dropped down to negative 1.75. It was a shock for me. It was a shock for the optometrist. In fact, we did the whole eye exam over again just to confirm. And I still left dumbfounded. It wasn't until I came home and showed you the prescription and we were like, what happened here?
So when you walked in the door, it was kind of like, you didn't even say anything. You just handed me the prescription and said, here. And you were like, let me look over it. I knew what your old one was and I knew what the new prescription was. And I'm like, wow, that's a 2 diopter drop. And then we started thinking about, okay, well, what are you doing differently? And that's what I want to iterate here, that this isn't just about a journey of techniques. It's also a journey of changing your mindset, dealing with stress and dealing with nutrition. All of this plays together. I've always talked about this being a full body experience. So what are some more of the specifics that you did as far as dealing with stress? What did you do to deal with your stress levels?
I had a huge amount of stress becoming a new mom, the parents, that shift in life. So I just went back to my self-care, and I've always known the fact that physical activity and your nutrition plays together with your mental health. You are a full body, mind, body, and soul, and it all has to work together. Becoming new parents, it happened, gained a few pounds, life got a little chaotic for a few months.
It did.
We always had a pretty good routine leading up to it. Things shifted, we regained balance. We just focused on more of just proteins and produce. We made a habit of going back to the farmer's market every Saturday, walking the little one up there. Focusing on that, you need those antioxidants, and the omega-3s help with the macula health. Focusing on that, activity just upping that up a little bit. I mean, I was always doing, hour to an hour and a half of a video workout at home. Roller skating, we were always big into. But just changing that up, I needed time to myself. So instead of going out and riding bikes together like we used to, now we had a little one in tow that didn't ride a bike, obviously. So I would go out on the bike trail by myself, but I would take a little bit longer bike ride.
Yeah.
You would go take a little bit longer bike ride. Right. Just finding ways, we as a family, we would just go out for more walks around the neighborhood, just finding ways to get activity in, but I didn't have to exert an hour and a half of a video workout while I have an infant that's crying at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I had to find that shift and that balance, still make things work for me. But, finding that time just for yourself, all of it worked together with the mental health and the stress levels. Okay.
And speaking of which, I do, Marcy, she's been working on her self-care and her stress and things like that. And she started her own website and YouTube channel talking about this very thing, the things that she did in more specifics as to improving her self-care, her mental motivation, physical activity. So check her out at establishingyourbalance.com, or you can check out her YouTube channel also named Establishing Your Balance. Mm-hmm. And I think with one of the fortunate things that we realized, of course, this was all during COVID that this kind of happened. And whereas we've always had jobs where we've worked from home, so not much really changed on that front, but we couldn't necessarily go out and do the things that we were used to doing. So we had so much activity and things that we did around, but we couldn't do exactly those same activities anymore. So we had to find new creative outlets. So we did start doing more biking and walking around the neighborhood. And, we would go up to the farmer's market across the street. We would walk to it versus driving. And I know that all played an important role. So while a lot of people got stuck in their boxes, and I know some people were contained to their homes and even couldn't even leave the house, we found ways to get out of the house without being around other people. And that way we got that outlet that we needed and not being stuck inside, because that was one of the big, I think, takeaways I read. A lot of people's vision in eyesight was impacted from COVID. A lot more people are wearing glasses who've never worn glasses before, and their eyesight, and if you have worn glasses, their eyesight got worse during that time. This brings me to the next question. How much did you stop wearing your glasses? Or approximately when did you stop wearing your glasses? Because I know in the beginning, like I said, our daughter came into our lives in 2019, but you were still wearing your glasses or contacts. You mostly wore contacts. You hardly wore glasses at all. Yes. But at what point did you stop wearing the contacts and the glasses?
Going back, I was the worst contact wearer ever. I think you could probably really count on one hand during a year how many times I actually took them out of my eyes.
Yeah, I told her, your eyes are going to burn and fall out. I used to tell her all the time, you need to take those out, but she never listened to me. But
so I was literally a 24/7 contact wearer. But it was, I want to say halfway through COVID, so halfway through 2020, I'll say. Maybe not necessarily halfway through COVID, but halfway through 2020, okay, shutdown's going on a little bit longer than everybody thought it would being into this. We're not traveling as much outside of our radius circle of our neighborhood. I didn't need my contacts. I wasn't seeing new areas. I wasn't traveling down unknown roads. I knew my house. I knew how to get to the grocery store across the street. I knew how to walk the neighborhood. I didn't need to read street signs. I didn't need to figure out things that you do when you're traveling. I didn't need to see every detail. So it was probably halfway through 2020 that I actually just took out my contacts. Yeah. And again, it wasn't to improve my vision. I just didn't have a need for them. And I was like, I'm finally going to get that rest my eyes need.
Yeah. And I think once we kind of went back and looked at how long you stopped wearing glasses, it was like somewhere between 6 and 8 months that
Correct.
you
Except
just,
for night driving.
Yeah.
I did wear glasses though, but not my contacts.
Right. You wore your glasses for night driving. But for the most part, you did not wear any contacts or glasses at all for around the home, around the neighborhood, crossing the street. You did use your glasses when you absolutely needed to see that
Correct.
perfect clarity. I do want to iterate that, and I always preach that. Always use your glasses when you absolutely need them. But like I said, for the most part, for about 6 to 8 months, you weren't wearing anything at all, just going by your own natural eyes, and then back to the other things of the self-care, self-improvement, physical activity, and nutrition. I'm going to also make this point too, and I've said it in most of my recent videos, and people ask this question all the time: can I wear my glasses and do this, do these techniques, do all this stuff? And the thing is, if you want to improve your eyesight, you have to give them something to work on. If you're using your full prescription glasses and you're trying to do stuff to improve your eyesight, your eyes are already, they're using the optimal prescription that was given to you. So there's really nothing to work on. You have to give them some type of stimulus, something to work towards, a goal to work towards. And the only way you're going to do that is either with a lower prescription, or you have to get those glasses off. We definitely came at our journeys different ways. So did you do any of the techniques that I was doing?
No.
There you have it. So no, she knew my journey and how I was going about improving my vision, but she never did the stuff like being aware of the peripheral and all of this. She just basically took her glasses off and tried to get more to that relaxation, which again, this all ties together. It all ties together. It's not just one thing or the other. So you did not do all the stuff that I did, but yet got a huge, tremendous amount of improvement just from, thinking about, your mental health, your stress, your nutrition, and it got you to where you are today.
I do believe, though, had I been doing all of the exercise that you were actually telling me about and telling me to do, I would have been further along. But that wasn't the point of the journey that I was on at that point.
Yeah. Even though you didn't do all the techniques, there were a couple of times that we experienced some of the same things, even though you weren't doing exactly the same, techniques and all the exercises and stuff that I did. And I'm particularly talking about the stinging and tearing sensation. So I want you to talk about those 2 points. We brought this up. We do monthly live Q&A calls in our Advanced Journey group, in my Advanced Journey group. And Marcy was a guest on there. I brought her on to talk to the group as well, and they asked questions. And this was one of the things that came up. She had the stinging and tearing sensation. So I want her to speak more of that, about the 2 situations that we specifically remember in reference to that.
So the first time, it was, again, I would say late 2020, early 2021. Restaurants were back open for dining because we were sitting in a parking lot in front of a restaurant waiting to go inside. And all of a sudden, my eyes are just bawling. I didn't have any burning, no irritation, none of that. I just started bawling. And Mark was like, okay, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel fine. Like, I'm not sad. There's no emotion. But I'm like, I can't control this. And he just looked and he goes, oh, you're finally relaxing, honey.
Yeah, so I constantly talk about the stinging and tearing sensation. When that happens, it's a release of tension in your eyes, your face, your muscles, all of that. And sunsets are a great way to invoke some of that relaxation technique. And we happen to be, I think we were waiting for a family member or somebody to meet us there at this restaurant, and the sun was setting. We were just sitting in the car, just waiting there and watching the sunset and talking, and she's just crying. She's just crying. I'm dying laughing at her. I'm like, honey, you okay? Do we need to go up? So, yeah, and as soon as she explained what was going on and all that, I was like, oh, you finally got, a release of tension, and sometimes you don't always see that clarity, but it's that release of muscle tension, and we attribute that to the sunset. that was happening there at that time. Now, the other time, and this just happened maybe a couple of weeks ago, explain that tearing and stinging sensation.
Sure. So, since I had my eye doctor appointment, I've only worn my contacts twice. And so, like I said, my eye appointment was in 2021. Last year we had went on a trip, so I had wore my contacts just because it was a new place. I wanted to see everything super sharp. I didn't want to deal with my glasses on and off. I still wanted to wear my sunglasses, etc. So I wore my contacts once last year. And then just a few weeks ago, I had a situation where during the day I needed to look at a teleprompter all day and I was on video. So I didn't want the reflection and the glare on my glasses. So I decided, okay, I'll just wear my contacts for the couple of hours to deal with the teleprompter. And as soon as I put them in, it was instant stinging and burning, like the eyelash or a piece of sand was in my eye. And it took me a long time to get it together to be able to start the video and to start recording, to be able to read the teleprompter. But I couldn't get through the day quick enough to just go literally rip the contacts out of my eyes.
Yeah, I'm like, tissue? You need a tissue? It was kind of funny, and that was kind of the flip side on a stinging and tearing sensation. I talk about stinging and tearing sensations when it's releasing tension, but the inverse can also happen as well. She got a stinging and tearing sensation from the tension strengthening or getting more tension in the eye. She hadn't worn the contacts in forever, and it felt like kind of like vice grips clamping down on the eyes, and it invoked a stinging and tearing sensation. And I can think back when I first started wearing glasses and you put them on for the first time, you feel a tightening in your face and everything just feels like it's like a vice grip is coming on your head. So she had that experience putting the contacts in after not wearing them for so long. So that kind of brings me to my next point. How's your vision now?
So I don't know for certain. I have not been back to the eye doctor to have an appointment done, to have a checkup. But I do know, though, from when I put those contacts in a few weeks ago, my vision has improved even further, because part of the reason why that tension came on was because when I put the contacts in, everything was super sharp, super clear, almost too sharp, too clear. Yeah. I felt like, as your vision goes, you do this as you're reading. I couldn't get the teleprompter far enough away from me to actually focus in on it and just have my eyes settle down. Yeah. So I am positive that my vision has continued to improve. Yep. I still wear my glasses during night driving. That's probably will be with me for a very long time. But as far as the contacts, I think those days are done. That's one thing I often get questions about. People will say, okay, I'm doing the stuff and I've done the exercises and I put my glasses on and I feel like my vision's gotten worse. And what actually happens is your vision can improve just that quickly. It can actually be very quick to have an improvement in your eyes. And then you put your glasses back on and they feel like, well, now I feel like my eyes got worse. Your eyes really didn't get worse. They actually got better, but now your glasses have become too strong for you. Mm-hmm. And that's happened to her. It's happened to me. And that's when you just have to be like, okay, I need to drop this down if I want to continue to have the progress, because you will revert back if you're not continually trying to get rid of that prescription. I know you speak about driving. Let's talk about your peripheral. Oh. I know you don't do any of the peripheral awareness stuff that I talk about. However, how is your peripheral? And this was one of the questions, again, that was brought up in our advanced journey group. So let's talk about that. Sure. So the direct answer to that question is left side is great. Right side is awful. However, I never knew this about me. It actually took you explaining certain things. When I roller skate, I don't like to go to my right. When I'm bicycling, I slow down for a right-hand turn. My right side, even though it is my dominant side as far as writing and eating and all of that, it is my weak side in my vision. Even just in peripheral, like I still see my finger over here. I don't see this right finger.
Yeah.
Like you are barely in my peripheral right now, but I can see fully like almost behind my shoulder on my
Yeah,
left
I
hand
have to
side.
laugh at her because every time I'm driving, she's in the passenger seat, and some car might drive up fast beside us on the right hand side or something out of nowhere, and she'll freak out like, "We're gonna get hit," and I'm like, "They're in their lane. We're in our lane." So I have to laugh at her every time. I mean, I know it's funny every time she jumps and reacts, but it's also something we should also be aware of too.
Correct.
If we don't have that peripheral, then we tend to not want to favor that side of the body and we'll rely more on the other side. So it's an important thing to be aware of to help and train your peripheral to see more. I started this from one aspect over here and you started from there, and we've kind of met in the middle. And now I understood after I started doing just techniques to begin with that there's a big mental component in it that's not really talked about as much. And you started out and didn't even try to improve your eyesight. You started with this mental and stress aspect and started to notice that your eyesight was improving, and now you're kind of now doing a little bit more of the techniques and things like that, being aware. And like I said, that's the one point I want to make is a lot of people will just try to do eye exercises to improve it, but they're not doing the whole body approach or a full body approach. And that's what I talk about on my 4-hour live webinars about improving your eyesight from a full body perspective. Because if you don't get all of the parts, then it's hard to improve as a whole. So if you haven't been able to make it to one of the live sessions as of yet, the replays are available for purchase on the website. You can go there. There's a link up there, or you can check out the link in the description below to find out more about that. If you just want more information on what to do to even get started with improving your eyesight, you can check out this video up here.